Right, I'm going to go through three incredibly tough positions from Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual, Chapter 2, Knight versus Pawns. Kicking off with this 1995 study. You can pause the video if you like and see if you can work out the move, but quite frankly, it stands no chance, and it's much better to well, the clue's in the name. It's a study. Let's start studying it. Let's look into the position. Find the position of reciprocal zugzwang that's fundamental to this endgame. That's Dvoretsky's phrasing, and then go from there. There are a couple of places where I think it is worth pausing the video, but not at the start, to be honest. I just think you'd stand no chance. I mean, prove me wrong. Pause the video, see if you can find what you're meant to do here. But I think you'd have to explore it by picking the pieces up and moving them around, personally. So let's go for the most natural move, which is just king c1. Just bring the king over and let's look at what happens. So king c1, king g4, king d2. Black pushes the f-pawn. You can't play king e3 here because black pushes the f-pawn again, and when you take it, king f4, the e-pawn's falling. It's a draw. Okay, so it's actually quite a precarious situation. Your e-pawn is, the starting position. The king's quite a long way away. And you've got to get over and you've got to defend your e-pawn, stop black's f-pawn. It's quite a precarious situation. Anyway, you go knight e3 check, king to f4. You've got to defend that e-pawn. Black pushes the f-pawn. Your knight's in a bit of a sort of awkward place here, and you can reshuffle it. Knight f1, king f3, knight d2, king f4. And this is just looking good now, right? You play king e2. This is fine. Your knight's defending the e-pawn. Your king's earmarked for taking the f-pawn. All is well. Surely white's just winning that. White's not winning this. This is the position of reciprocal zugzwang, that whoever is to move is going to get the undesirable result. And there's lots of different variations we're about to see that always arrive back here with white to move. That's very annoying. You need this position with black to move, and that's the key to unlocking how you solve the original position. So yeah, bad luck if you didn't work that out back at the original position. Of course, I didn't even get close to understanding that. So yeah, let's just see that then. So king e2. You could pause the video now if you wanted to. And okay, so what does black do? How is black not losing this? And once that's become a sort of a puzzle, if you had this in a game, now you might find the next move, because there's nothing else you could do. So you just queen. At least the king has to take it, because the knight has to defend the e-pawn, and then you can bring your king in. You can fork the white knight and pawn. White's got no choice but to defend that knight, and you still fork the knight and the pawn. White can't move his knight. You go back to e3, you just keep forking the knight and the pawn. The only thing that white can do to stop you continually forking the knight and the pawn is play king c2, but then you just play king d4, and those three squares, you can just stay on them. d4, d3 and e3, the black king is always attacking the white e-pawn so that the knight can't move, and there's no way for the white king to get in and make progress. So back in this original position, the natural king c1 doesn't do it because of this incredible drawing resource, f1 equals queen check. Notice, by the way, the path of the knight there. It started on c2, it went to e3, f1, and it did end up on d2. And d2 is a pretty good square for it, where it defends e4 and controls the promotion square. So there's no two ways about it. Getting your knight to d2 is a good plan. And you sort of did it in that position. I think white did it in that position because they sort of brought their king over. It was more like an afterthought. Their knight had to go to e3 check and then get to d2. So let's think of a different way of getting to d2. And one path that suggests itself immediately is that. So okay, knight a3. Let's do that. Let's see how that works. Black pushes the f-pawn, forces you to play knight c4 straight away, because otherwise they're going to queen the f-pawn. And this looks pretty good for white now. King g4. You go king c2. king g3. Pretty important move that you want to play here is king c3. This is also a position of reciprocal zugzwang. King back to g4. I mean, if black pushes the f-pawn straight away, then we'd see knight d2, king f4, king d3. And now you have achieved that position of reciprocal zugzwang that you wanted to earlier on. So yeah, king back to g4. Then you can take the pawn with check. That's the key. Okay, so king f4, king to d4. It's over. White's won. So yeah, back into this position here. So quick recap on that. So you go knight a3, push the f-pawn, knight c4, and when black brings their king into to g4, we go king c2 and we win it. The only reason we won that though is because there's like an odd even thing going on again. Is that when the black king came back to g4, we were able to take that pawn with check. That was the key. Okay, and that hopefully triggers something in black to realise that at this stage they don't want to play king g4. So what they'll do instead is play king g5, where they're threatening to come into f4. So white's going to do something about that, bring their king in, king c2. But then you play king g4. So it's the same position we had a minute ago, but this time it's white to move. King c3, king g3. That's another position of reciprocal zugzwang. What does white do here? They're gonna, and we'll go through the various options. If knight d2, king f4, king to d3, f2, that's the position of reciprocal zugzwang where whoever gets to move gets the undesirable result. If white tries to reverse the move order, king d3, I mean that's literally all they're doing, just changing the move order to the same position. So you can't play knight d2, you can't play king d3, and if you go king d2, black pushes the f-pawn straight away, king e2, king f4, attacks the e-pawn, you've got to defend it, and then there's the genius f1 equals queen check that we've already seen. So if we go back to this position, I mean this is again also a position of reciprocal zugzwang, there's nothing that white can do. What white wants to do here is play king c4, but their knight's in the way, their own knight's in the way of them making progress. So I mean, it's kind of annoying now. You think, well, getting the knight to d2 was a good plan, definitely. That's a great square for that knight. But if only there was a way to do it where it wasn't in the way of my own king. Because if we got to this position of supposed reciprocal zugzwang, where whoever gets to move gets the undesirable result, it's like, well, if I play king c4, I'm not going to get an undesirable result there. So now, if you want to, pause the video and think about what you'll play on your first move. I think it's gettable now. Still hard, but gettable, now that you've realised the sort of the reciprocal zugzwang position that we're going to be heading towards, and that white's problem is that they need to get their knight to d2, but unfortunately when they chose this path to d2, the knight got in the way on c4. So, I mean, I've hopefully given it away by now. Knight a1. Find the best chess player you know. Show them this position. Give them half an hour. If they find knight a1, you know, I'd like to know which super grandmaster it is you know. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, you can get into the debate about studies at this point, couldn't you? Sort of the you know, because I've heard people say things like, "Oh yeah, but that's just a study. You'd never find that in a game. This is just sort of wasting my time. It's just a study." And of course, you would never find that in a game. You know, we could invent another position with the same sort of subtlety, and I'm not going to find it next time around. Of course, I'm not. But I might find moves that use the same sort of ideas where they're not as deep, they're not as subtle, and I think there's got to be a transferable skill in there somewhere. It's not just about always sort of getting results as well. Like, why do we even play chess? It's not just about getting the results, is it? It's about the beauty of the game itself. And yeah, I mean, knight a1. I mean, how cool is that someone came up with a study where that was the only winning move? You know, just an appreciation of chess as an art form as well. Even if it's just that you get out of it, I think there's definitely transferable skills going on, because we've problem solved here, haven't we? When we think about knights, it's all about where do we want our knight, how do we get it there. We don't look at a knight on a chessboard and think about where it might go next. I mean, we do a bit, but a lot of the time we're looking at squares. I'm looking at squares where I want my knight, and how do I get my knight there? I think that's a good way to think about knights. And here we've got, well, I want my knight on d2. How do I get it there? Well, you do this. But that created a problem where our knight got in the way. All right, problem solving. We shall solve that problem. I don't know. I mean, I can't prove it, but I'm going to keep going with this Dvoretsky book. I think it's brilliant. I've said that before. Even though it's super hard, and I've ended up at the end of this study concluding there's no way I'd have got that even after seeing it, I still think I'm getting something from it. Again, I can't prove it. Knight e1, f3, we've got to play knight b3, king comes into g4, king c2, king g3, king c3, and black just sort of thinks, aha, I've got you in this sort of reciprocal zugzwang thing. King g4, and then we go king c4. And the point is that black can no longer wait around. They can't just keep doing the reciprocal zugzwang thing. Because if king g3, then we can go king d5, f2, knight d2, king f4, knight f1, and it's over. Okay. Just out of interest, that's another position of reciprocal zugzwang, which we're about to see in a different variation. So yeah, in this position, black can't wait around any longer. They have to commit to king f4. Okay. Now you go king d3. If you went king d5, that loses the game. Bad luck. And if you go knight d2, black can draw with king e3. So you have to play king back to d3. You've got to stop the white king coming into e3 for now. Black pushes the pawn, f2, and finally, we've reached that position of reciprocal zugzwang, the original one, the one that's fundamental to this whole endgame, but this time it's black to move. So now let's see how black to move loses this game. So black plays king g3, and now you've still got a chance to throw it away. King c4 doesn't throw away the win yet, because you've still got a chance here to come back to d3 and go again. But if you commit to king d5, you've chucked away the win. King e3, knight f1 check, and then the absolutely brilliant, there's only one drawing move for black here, and it's king f4, just defend the pawn. And I guess that we're in the classic mine square situation over here. White's king can't move because you'll just take the e-pawn. If white's knight moves, and you either take it if it puts in a really silly square, or you just come in and attack it. You know, knight h2, for example, we attack the knight, it has to go back, otherwise you're queening, and then you just go back. So you still had a chance to mess it up there with king c4, but you don't mess it up with king c4, you play king e2, king g2, knight f1, king g1, knight e3. It's gone, it's over. So absolutely brilliant if you found eventually knight a1. Of course, I didn't. I'm not even sure if I found it at the point I got you guys to pause the video and say, okay, now we understand everything about this endgame. Now what would you play? I think I just sort of got completely flummoxed by all of it. But I hopefully we can still get something out of it all. Right, the next one's a 1970 study. Again, pause the video if you like, see if you can come up with the... well, obviously white's playing this to draw. It's white to play and get a draw. You're going to be doing you'd need black's cooperation to win this, wouldn't you? See what you would do. Pause the video and have a go. Although, like the previous one, this is so hard that it's almost worth just sort of exploring, and that will lead you maybe to the right answer. I mean, the first thing to note is that your knight's trapped. So if you played king b2, for example, just a sort of nothing move, the game's gone. Because your knight's trapped, and then you think, oh no, my knight's trapped, I better come and win the b pawn. You're outside the square of the h pawn. It's gone. Okay? So you have to sort of threaten to come and win this pawn. Otherwise, black's winning plan is very easy. King f7, and they're just going to queen. They're going to queen the h pawn. So the most natural thing to do is, of course, king b3. And now let's just see that play out. King f7, king b4, king g7, takes the knight, and you're in the square. You're going to get to the crucial... You're in the square of the h pawn, and you're going to get to the crucial f1 square. In fact, I think you're even going to get to h1, but f1's, of course, the square you need to get to. So that works. Brilliant. Let's celebrate. Except that after king b3, black doesn't play king f7 and come and collect your knight. Black's got a more dangerous plan, much more dangerous plan. They're going to play king e6. Now if you just carry on trying to collect the pawn, king f5, king takes, h5, uh-oh. How are you getting... your king's outside the square of the h pawn, and this king is very well placed shouldering that knight away. That knight's not getting close. This is the circuit you need to get on when the black pawn is on h3. Good luck with that. So this is bad news. This king e6 is a very dangerous plan. So let's look at what you might try and do. So you think, well, I've got to get the knight out of there somehow. Knight f8 check. I've got to sort of get it round the board and somehow get it on this circuit. That's the circuit that we're trying to get on. If you can get your knight to that circuit when the black pawn reaches h3, you're done. King f5, great place for the king to go. It stops knight g6 and advances the king down the board. It's a sort of a nice dominating the knight, stopping it coming to those two squares. So you bring your knight round, d7, and black pushes the h pawn. You're just sort of desperately trying to get your knight round the board onto that circuit. Knight c5, h4, knight d3, h3. There's the circuit. You're stuffed. You're absolutely stuffed. Knight f2, h2. It's gone. Yeah. I mean, the black king's just going to come in now. You need to be on the circuit. It's no good here. Once the knight gets to h1, the king's just going to come to g2. And you've still got to deal with this as well. I was thinking, okay, back here, was there anywhere else the knight could go? Nope. It's not going to go to a4. Going backwards is sort of a waste of time. b7 is going to be way too slow, isn't it? Coming to d6 with check. That's going to be met by king f4. The black pawn's probably here by then. You can't take your own king. What do you do? What do you do? It's gone. So think, right, well, hang on. My knight's trapped. I can't move my knight. If I don't attack this pawn, it's a simple win for black. I've got to come forward and attack that pawn, because otherwise black just takes the knight and my king's not in the square of the h pawn. But we've just been through coming forward to attack that pawn. Sorry. And rather than king f7, black's got the more dangerous king e6 winning plan. Oh, not that one. You know, I got this far, and I just couldn't get my knight onto this circuit. So I've exhausted all the possibilities. I've looked at king b2 where you don't come and attack that pawn. I've looked at king b3 where you do make moves towards attacking that pawn. I can't move the knight. That's it, I've lost. Okay. But careful. Are you sure you looked at all the moves where you go forward to attack that pawn? Well, what's the difference? Alright, you got that. You've still got to make moves to attack that pawn. And we've been through what happens if black now goes to take the knight. You take the b pawn and you get to f1. You're in the square. So let's go with black's more dangerous winning plan. It's just the same. It's just the same. Knight c5, h4. Hang on a minute. We've left the b3 square free for our knight. Wow. Knight d3 was the bad move before. h3. We can't get onto this circuit. Okay. But by playing knight b3, by playing king a3 originally, you've left the b3 square free for your knight. Knight b3. I mean, it's just crackers, isn't it? h3, knight d2, and you're going to get to f1. You're going to get on this circuit. Black might think you're too late. You're too late to get on that circuit because my pawn's getting to h2. I mean, if black doesn't play h2, you're on the circuit. It's a draw. Your king's obviously fine dealing with the b pawn by itself. h2, too late, mate. I'm not too late. Draw. Last one, also pretty tough. Maybe not as tough as some of the other ones. Pause the video, it's white to play. My advice would be pause the video and just do the most obvious thing. Okay, just examine the forcing variation. Because we can all do that, right? We can all examine the forcing variation. And that will lead you to a particular place. You might not like the look of that particular place, but that's where the sort of the beauty of it all comes in. Pause the video and have a go at it. So the most forcing variation, the thing to check really, with our king being on a white square on f1, so it just can't be hassled. There's nothing that black's got going on immediate, and the king is one square behind this c pawn. Just push the c pawn. Like, how's black stopping your c pawn? That's the forcing variation to check. And they're stopping it with bishop g3, which they might as well play straight away because they want to release their h pawn. c6, h4, c7, takes, knight takes c7, h3. Okay. So this position was easy to think about getting to. It's not necessarily a drawn position. Whoever was playing this game back in 1992 as white must have looked at that and just decided it was lost, and then they played knight g7, which is a losing move, and then ended up losing the game. But let's go to that position, h3, and obviously you're in big trouble here. The pawn's coming to h2. What we see is knight d5 check. So black's got a couple of choices here, a couple of sensible choices really. If king e4, you go knight f6 check. If king f5, knight to h5. And we might see king g4, knight back to f6 check, and a bit of going around in circles. So that's okay. But black's stronger winning try is king d4. Just come and collect your a pawn. And I mean, these two are still pretty dangerous by themselves. You know, what earth are you going to do here? In fact, how are you stopping those pawns? You can't move your king because your knight's hanging. So you've got to move your knight somewhere, and then black's going to play h2. What on earth are you going to do? You need to find knight e7. Then black plays h2. The only reason knight e7 was any good is that you can get to the g3 square and cover the h-pawn via this knight f5 check. Black's like, I don't care, I'm off to collect your a-pawn. Good luck with that. Knight g3, king b4, king f2, a-pawn's gone. This is not looking good. King takes f3, king b3. You have to get your king to g2 to stop the h-pawn. You've got to release your knight. a4, that black pawn's about to hit a3, and when it does, this is the circuit that you need to be on. How are you getting onto that circuit, basically? It's worth pausing the video here and working out how you draw it from here, because this is definitely something that you could very easily get in a game. This isn't, I mean, this was a game actually, the original position, so this isn't a bonkers study. This is just a very practical, you want your knight on that circuit, work it out, okay? Including working out, okay, knight e2 seems a sensible move, but then black's going to stop you coming to to c1. Then what are you going to do? You need to get on that circuit. Well, how about there? And then you're onto the circuit, onto d3. So yeah, knight e2. If black pushes the a pawn, knight c1 check, we're on the circuit. So black has to play king b2. And then, yeah, knight f4. It's just such an unnatural move, isn't it? For anyone who didn't know about the circuit to stop a rook's pawn, there's no way they'd think of knight f4 over the board unless they really sat there and think about it. But if you just know the circuit, it's then a very natural move to play. You need to get onto that circuit, and the black king is stopping you getting to c1. It's like, well, I have to get to e3 then. Knight d3 check. We're on the circuit. It's a draw. So yeah, 3 really tough positions. I enjoyed all 3 of them. I mean, if you look at that first one again, the idea that you have to find knight a1. Is anyone ever going to find knight a1 in a game? Of course not. Does that mean that it was a waste of time looking into all of this? It's just, you know, it's too far above our level. I don't know. I think there's some transferable skills there, and at the very least, it's just the love of chess itself, and these, you know, chess as an art form rather than chess as a sport. I was having a chat with a so you could just stop the video now. There's no more positions if you find me waffling on a load of boring nonsense. But I was having a chat with a very strong chess player at a recent congress. A guy I've chatted to a fair bit at various congresses, really highly rate him, and I enjoy talking to him. He's a very strong player, much better player than me. Beat me at this congress as well, completely outplayed me. And he sort of remarked, I asked him what he thought of the Dvoretsky endgame manual, and he said, oh, it's way too hard for me. And it just made me feel a bit silly. I mean, he wasn't trying to make me silly at all, of course, but it just made me think, hang on a minute. So you're saying that this book is way above your level. You're a better player than me. Like, surely then it's then above my level as well. And it made me wonder, should I be going through it? But I need to talk to him again, because I disagree. I think there's loads of stuff in it that's not above my level, which then in turn means it's definitely not above his level. And even the stuff that is above my level, like this position is absolutely above my level. The idea of finding knight a1 is just ridiculous. I still think there are there's so much to be gained from going through this. I mean, the clue's in the name. It's a study. We study it. It's not all about results at the chessboard. It's about getting a feel for the pieces. In this case, I guess the paths of the knights, the way that knights can't triangulate, and so you get this odd even thing. You end up in reciprocal zugzwang. You know, all these ideas, they've got to be helpful somewhere, someday, in one of our chess games. Anyway, I think I've talked enough.